My name is Maslauskas Dunn, and I'm currently involved in a lawsuit against the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, the Coast Guard, and the Tacoma and Olympia police departments, as well as the Thurston and Pierce County Sheriffs. I first got involved in May, June 2006, and I was downtown near the Port of Olympia, and I saw military shipments, a convoy of striker vehicles coming through the town and the city streets, and I never seen anything like that before, and I was just kind of in awe, and I just stood in front of the military vehicles. I was there by myself. What else could I do? I didn't want them there. I didn't want them in Iraq or Afghanistan or anywhere. So that's how I first got involved. It started out very small, but it very rapidly grew into hundreds of people. There was never any violence on our part, on the part of the demonstrators. The only violence that did happen throughout any of these demonstrations over the last several years was directed on us and people that were just bystanders from the police. And I mean, really, we were standing in a position we were trying to oppose real forms of violence, namely the U.S. military, which really is the most violent institution out there. There's one email in particular which didn't really stand out to me, but I passed this on to other folks, and they did more research on it. And the email attached to that, or the email address attached to that was this person, John J. Towery, the second, and there was an Army email address. I didn't know who that was. But some people did some research, and with some publicly accessible information, voting registration records, and looking up license plates and things like that, they found out that this John J. Towery, who was military intelligence, just so happened to live in the same place that who we thought was our good friend John Jacob. So we found out that the two were the same person. I knew John Jacob is a personal friend. I thought he was a personal friend. He kind of he showed up out of nowhere, and I got emails from him. I met up with him. There are other activists. I got emails from him. He said he was kind of new to activism and wanted to really get involved with the anti-war movement. For a while, he was one of the listserv administrators for Port Militarization Resistance, which is scary because that means he, and by extension the Army, and every other agency and every other police department that was involved with spying on us has information of all the email addresses and most of the names of people who were involved with Port Militarization Resistance. I called him up the day after he was outed, and I said, oh, John, what's going on? What's the deal? I knew this was coming up, but he said, well, the world isn't in black and white. There are areas of gray and shades of gray, and it's in those areas that I live my life. It was really hard for me emotionally, and it was different because different people had different reactions, ranging from very, very upset and angry to, different kinds of emotional responses, betrayal, losing trust. I definitely felt that, and, I wrote this article called "The Death of John Jacob" because, in my mind, he's dead. He doesn't exist anymore. Maybe he never existed in the first place. We're suing the military for violating First, Fourth Amendment, um, several other amendments, and generally, violating civil rights, civil liberties. Also, the Posse Comitatus Act. That was thrown out only because this is a civil case that we're involved with, and Posse Comitatus is actually a criminal matter, which might come up in the future and other cases down the road. But they still, very clearly have violated it. I have an FBI number, actually, that I found out about when I was trying to cross a border from Washington into British Columbia to go to Victoria a couple years ago. Every time I crossed the border, I had trouble. And the first time I crossed, they threatened to throw me in Canadian jail. They questioned me in a back room. They're convinced I was going to Canada for a demonstration, which I wasn't. And they confiscated my passport for a short time and kicked me out of their country. I mean, he sabotaged the movement as a whole. There's absolutely no way to measure what kind of effect things like this, what kind of very direct effect that this has on activists, because you don't know how many people want to get involved who aren't activists, want to go to a demonstration, want to go to a meeting, want to go to a picket line, want to, put up flyers, anything like this, and they hear about this surveillance and they just get scared. They don't say anything, they run away, and they never get involved. And you can't measure that within a movement, the chilling effect that it has on activism.